Imagine coming home after a long day, expecting the comfort of your own space, only to find your girlfriend alone with her ex. No warning, no explanation, just a silence that cuts deeper than any words. In a single moment, the trust you thought was unbreakable begins to crumble. What do you do when the one person you trusted most keeps secrets? How far would you go to protect your own heart? This is a story of betrayal, broken trust, and a decision that will change everything. Stay with us. This is one you won't want to miss. The rhythmic hum of weights clanging together filled the air, a familiar soundtrack to my late afternoons. The gym was my sanctuary, a place where everything made sense, simple equations of effort and result. Mike and I were finishing up the last of our sets, and the strain in my muscles brought a satisfying burn that grounded me. In those moments, I felt invincible, like nothing could touch me. Between sets, I felt my phone vibrate in my pocket. I didn't check it right away, letting the buzz linger as I focused on the reps. By the time I glanced at the screen, there it was, Lily's name. A soft smile tugged at the corners of my lips. Lily was my anchor, the woman who had filled my life with a sense of stability I hadn't known before. She spent most of her time at my apartment. Despite sharing a place with her roommates, she practically lived with me. I liked that, knowing that when I came home, she'd be there, her things scattered around my space like soft reminders of her presence. _Hey love, an old friend is in town. She needs a quiet place to catch up, and I thought we could use your apartment for a few hours. Her message read. I barely thought about it. I trusted Lily, and her friends had always been easygoing. Without hesitation, I shot back a quick reply, offering up my place. _Sure. I'll be out with Mike for a while anyway. The words left my fingers effortlessly. I didn't ask who this friend was or if there was more to the request. The gym's intensity had my mind focused elsewhere. As sweat dripped down my back and the burn in my arms intensified, I pushed any lingering thoughts of her message away, assuming it would be just another uneventful night. As Mike and I wrapped up, the exhaustion creeping into my bones was tempered by the promise of a hearty meal. There was a burger place nearby, a favorite of ours, known for its mouth-watering beef and greasy fries. The kind of meal that made the soreness in your muscles feel worth it. While we ate, I checked my phone again. Another message from Lily. We're at your place now. I barely registered it. The night was simple, dinner, some laughs with Mike, and then I'd head home. There was a comfort in knowing that Lily would be there waiting, probably with her friend, chatting away like she always did. I didn't even consider what might be brewing beneath the surface. Little did I know, the night ahead wasn't going to be as ordinary as I had expected. The night had settled into an easy rhythm, the kind you don't overthink. Mike and I lingered at the burger joint longer than planned, trading stories and jokes over beers, the kind of mindless banter that made the world outside seem far away. I checked my phone occasionally, but there was no urgency. Lily was at my place, catching up with her friend. Nothing out of the ordinary, but as the clock ticked closer to 9 p.m., I felt the familiar tug of exhaustion. The heavy meal and the long day had worn me down, and the thought of my bed was starting to become irresistible. My mind drifted to home. My apartment, a place of quiet comfort, where Lily's laughter often filled the air and her presence softened the edges of my day. I looked forward to getting back, seeing her smile, and saying a quick hello before crashing into bed. As we left the restaurant, my phone buzzed again. Lily, another message. We're all settled in at your place. Thanks for letting us hang out here. I smiled briefly at the screen, responding with a quick, no problem. See you soon, But as I pocketed my phone, a small twinge of curiosity crept in. Something in the back of my mind nudged at me. Why hadn't she mentioned the friend's name? Normally, she'd be chatty, telling me all about who was coming over or what they'd talk about. This time, it was vague. I brushed it off, convinced it was nothing. After all, we had been together for over 2 years, and Lily had never given me a reason to doubt her. The streets were quieter now as Mike and I made our way back, parting ways at the corner near my apartment. I climbed the steps with my usual ease, the cool air refreshing against my skin. I could already picture Lily inside, sitting with her friend, probably laughing over some memory. It was the kind of image that made me feel at ease, until I opened the door. The moment I stepped inside, something felt off. It wasn't just the air, which was heavy with a tension I couldn't place. It was the sight that greeted me right by the door. A pair of heavy, worn Timberland boots. Men's boots. My chest tightened as I stared at them. What the hell? It didn't make sense. Lily had said her friend was a woman, hadn't she? My mind raced, trying to piece together an explanation. Maybe her friend had brought a boyfriend along at the last minute. Yeah, that had to be it. Still, the unease in my chest didn't fade. I kicked off my shoes and made my way down the hallway. The apartment was dim, just the warm glow of the living room lamp casting soft shadows across the floor. As I approached, the soft murmur of voices reached my ears, and then I saw them. Lily sitting on the couch, and a man across from her. He wasn't just any man. He was Kaio. I stopped in my tracks, the air around me suddenly feeling thick, almost suffocating. There he was, Kaio, sitting in my living room, relaxed like he belonged there. His long, dark hair hung loose around his face, and he had this smug, self-satisfied look that made my stomach churn. My eyes flicked to Lily, who was seated across from him, looking startled by my arrival. She wasn't smiling, wasn't her usual warm, welcoming self. In fact, she looked guilty. The tension between them was palpable, like they had been caught in the middle of something. Kaio, of all people, why him? He was the man from her past, the ex-boyfriend she had told me about in passing but never in detail, the one who had broken her heart and disappeared. And now, here he was, sitting comfortably on my couch, in my apartment, as if he had every right to be there. Hey, I managed to say, trying to keep my voice steady, but I could feel the tightness in my throat. My eyes darted around the room, looking for any sign of the friend Lily had mentioned. Surely, there was some explanation, something that would make this less of a nightmare than it seemed. Where's your friend? I asked, my voice tighter than I intended. Lily hesitated, her hands fidgeting in her lap. She glanced at Kaio before finally meeting my gaze. This is him. She said softly, almost as if the words were sticking in her throat. Kaio. The man said, his voice dripping with arrogance. He didn't stand, didn't even offer a handshake. He just sat there, looking up at me like he was amused by my presence. Her ex. The word hit me like a punch to the gut. Ex. Not friend. Not acquaintance. Ex-boyfriend. My mind reeled. The realization that Lily had been alone for hours with her ex here in my apartment sank in like a lead weight in my chest. Every inch of my body screamed that something wasn't right, that this was a betrayal, even if it wasn't as blatant as I feared. I swallowed hard, trying to keep my emotions in check, but the anger was already bubbling beneath the surface. The apartment, my safe space, felt foreign now, invaded by a man who didn't belong there, a man who had history with my girlfriend that I wasn't a part of. Lily sat there, still not moving, still not explaining. Her face was flushed, her lips parted as if she wanted to say something, but she didn't. The silence between us stretched, growing heavier by the second. I could hear the faint hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen, the ticking of the clock on the wall, all amplified by the suffocating quiet in the room. Finally, I spoke, my voice low but steady. So, you've been here all days. Lily nodded, avoiding my gaze. We were just catching up. She said, her voice barely above a whisper. Catching up with her ex in my apartment, alone. I couldn't process it. I couldn't wrap my head around how she could think this was okay, how she could sit there and act like this wasn't a problem. The trust one had in her, the certainty that she always had my back, was unraveling with every second of silence. I stood there, feeling like a stranger in my own home. Kaio leaned back on the couch, completely at ease, his arm resting casually along the back as if he'd been here 1,000 times before. His eyes locked on mine, a faint smirk playing at the edges of his lips. I hated him instantly, not just because he was her ex, but because of how comfortable he seemed in a place that wasn't his, around a woman who wasn't his anymore. Lily still hadn't moved, her posture stiff, like she was bracing for something. The tension between them, between us all, was so thick it felt like the walls of the room were closing in. I could barely breathe. So you're Kaio. I said, my voice coming out more clipped than I intended. I wanted to keep calm, to play it cool, but it was getting harder with every second that passed. That's right. He replied smoothly, giving me a slow, deliberate nod. And you must be the boyfriend. The way he said it made my skin crawl, as if the word boyfriend didn't mean anything to him. Like I was just a temporary obstacle in his way. I could feel the anger rising, creeping into my chest, but I forced myself to stay composed. I wouldn't let him see how much this was getting to me. Nice to meet you. I said flatly, though there was nothing nice about it. Kaio didn't bother to stand or extend his hand. He just stared at me, his smirk never leaving his face, and in that moment, I wanted nothing more than to wipe that smug look off him. The air between us felt charged, like we were circling each other in some unspoken contest of dominance. But it wasn't just him. It was Lily, too. She sat there, still avoiding my gaze, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. I could feel the distance between us growing by the second. She hadn't mentioned Kaio by name, hadn't warned me that he was coming over. It was a betrayal, subtle but unmistakable, and it hurt like hell. I didn't know Lily had invited her ex over. I said, directing my words at her this time, trying to keep my voice steady. She flinched at the sharpness in my tone, finally looking up at me, her eyes filled with something between guilt and fear. But she still didn't speak. Yeah, we were just catching up. Kaio cut in, completely unfazed. It's been a while, you know. Had a lot to talk about. He was pushing me, testing my limits, and I was barely holding on. I glanced at Lily, hoping she'd jump in, say something to defend me, to explain herself, but she didn't. Her silence was deafening. The woman I thought I knew so well felt like a stranger now, someone who would rather sit in awkward silence than speak up for me. I see. I tried to keep my voice even, but the strain was obvious. It's just strange. You know, being alone with your ex in my apartment without telling me. The words hung in the air, heavy with accusation. I didn't want to sound like I was losing control, but it was impossible not to feel that way. My home, my relationship, the trust one had in her, it all felt like it was slipping through my fingers. Lily finally spoke, her voice small, barely a whisper. I'm sorry. I should have told you. But it didn't feel like enough. It felt hollow. Like she was only saying it because she had to, not because she truly understood what she'd done. Kaio, meanwhile, just sat there, enjoying the spectacle, watching as my world tilted off balance. I couldn't stand it anymore. The air was too thick, the tension too suffocating. The words I should have told you echoed in my mind, but they felt like an empty excuse. I stood there, staring at her, my heart pounding in my chest. She had apologized, sure, but her voice was so quiet, so lacking in real remorse, that it barely registered. I couldn't help but wonder what else she wasn't telling me. The room felt too small, the walls too close. The weight of what was happening pressed down on me, making it hard to breathe. How could she not see how wrong this was? How could she sit there, silent, while Kaio, the man who had once been so deeply involved in her life, sat smugly across from me, acting like this was all some kind of joke. Underscore, you should have told me. Underscore, I repeated, my voice tight with disbelief. Underscore, that's it? That's all you have to say. Underscore, Lily shifted uncomfortably on the couch, her hands twisting together in her lap. She still wouldn't meet my eyes, her gaze fixed somewhere on the floor between us. Her silence was like a knife, cutting deeper with every second. I needed more from her. I needed her to understand how much this was tearing me apart. Underscore, what were you thinking, Lily? Underscore, I asked, my voice rising despite my effort to stay calm. Underscore, you thought it was fine to spend hours alone with your ex in my apartment? Without telling me? Without even asking if I'd be okay with it? Underscore, finally, she looked up, her eyes wide, like she was only just now realizing the gravity of the situation. But the damage was done. The trust we had, the sense of security I felt with her, was unraveling fast, and she couldn't see it. Or maybe she didn't want to. Underscore, it's not what you think. Underscore, she said softly, her voice wavering. Underscore, we were just talking. Nothing happened. Underscore, nothing happened. Underscore, I shot back, the frustration bubbling over. Underscore, it's not about what did or didn't happen, Lily. It's about how you didn't think to tell me. It's about the fact that I had to walk in and find out like this. Underscore, I gestured toward Kaio, who hadn't moved. He was watching us, his arms crossed over his chest, as if he were some passive observer in all of this, completely unbothered by the chaos he had helped create. Underscore, look, man. Underscore, Kaio finally spoke, his voice annoyingly calm. Underscore, I get that you're upset, but you're making this a bigger deal than it is. We were just catching up. No need to blow things out of proportion. Underscore, his casual dismissal of the situation only made things worse. The fact that he was the one telling me to calm down, as if he had any right to dictate how I should feel in my own home, was infuriating. I could feel the blood rushing in my ears, my patience wearing dangerously thin. Underscore, don't tell me how to feel in my own place. Underscore, I snapped, turning to face him fully. Underscore, you don't get to walk in here uninvited and act like it's no big deal. This is my space, my relationship, and you don't belong here. Underscore, Kaio raised his hands in mock surrender, a faint smirk still tugging at his lips. Underscore, all right. I'll back off. Didn't mean to step on your toes, man. Underscore, but it wasn't enough. The damage had already been done, and his smug attitude wasn't helping. I looked back at Lily, hoping, underscore begging underscore, for some kind of support, some acknowledgement of how wrong the situation was. But all I saw was her uncertainty, her inability to choose a side, and that hurt more than anything Kaio could have said. Underscore, if you were in my shoes. Underscore, I said quietly. Underscore, would you be okay with this? Would you be okay with me sitting alone with my ex for hours, in secret, without telling you? Underscore, Lily bit her lip, her eyes welling up with tears. But she didn't answer. She couldn't because we both knew the truth. If the roles had been reversed, she wouldn't have stood for it. Not for a second. The realization hit me hard. In that moment, I felt the full weight of her betrayal, not just because of what she had done, but because of what she hadn't done. She hadn't defended me. She hadn't considered how this would make me feel. And now, she couldn't even admit that she was wrong. I was alone in this, and it hurt like hell. The silence stretched between us, thick and unbearable. I could feel the anger pulsing through my veins, the heat of it rising to the surface with every second that passed. Kaio's smirk hadn't faded, and Lily's indecision hung in the air like a weight pressing down on me. I couldn't stand it anymore. I had to do something, or I was going to lose it. Underscore, you need to go. Underscore, I said, my voice low and controlled, but with an edge that made it clear there was no room for negotiation. Kaio didn't move right away. He glanced at Lily, as if waiting for her to say something, to give him some kind of signal that this wasn't the end of the night for him, and that, more than anything, pushed me over the edge. He wasn't asking underscore me underscore if he should leave. He was looking to underscore her underscore, waiting for her approval, like my words didn't matter at all. I clenched my jaw, every muscle in my body tight with frustration. The audacity of it all, Kaio, sitting there in my apartment, acting like he had any kind of claim here, and Lily, who still hadn't spoken up, who still hadn't taken my side. Underscore Kaio, underscore I said again, more forcefully this time, underscore I'm telling you to leave. Now, underscore, finally, he stood, moving slowly, like he wasn't in any kind of rush. The way he took his time only made me angrier. He stretched lazily, his eyes flicking to me with a look of mild amusement, like I was overreacting, like this was all some big joke. Underscore, all right. Underscore, he said with a casual shrug. Underscore, I'll go. No need to get all worked up, man. Underscore, I stood rigid, watching as he gathered his things. The sight of him slipping on those Timberland boots made my skin crawl. I could feel my hands curling into fists at my sides, the urge to grab him, throw him out myself, overwhelming. But I stayed rooted to the spot, refusing to give him the satisfaction of seeing me lose control. Lily still hadn't moved from the couch. She sat there, watching the whole thing unfold, her lips pressed together in a thin line. She didn't say a word, didn't try to stop him, didn't defend me. The look in her eyes, part confusion, part regret, wasn't enough to soothe the ache in my chest. It wasn't enough to make me feel like this was still underscore our underscore space, that we were still in this together. Kaio finally made his way to the door, and I followed, making sure he was out for good. He paused in the doorway, turning back to look at me with that same irritating smirk. Underscore, take it easy, man. Underscore, he said, his tone light, almost mocking. Underscore, no hard feelings. Underscore, I didn't respond. I couldn't trust myself to speak. I just stared at him, my jaw clenched so tight it ached. He gave me a final nod, and then stepped out into the hallway. The door closed with a dull thud, and for a moment, I just stood there, staring at it, trying to calm the storm of emotions swirling inside me. But when I turned back to face the living room, Lily was still sitting there, her eyes downcast, her body tense. The silence between us was thick, oppressive. She looked so small, so far away, even though she was just a few feet from me. And for the first time, I realized just how much had changed between us. Underscore, you didn't even say anything. Underscore, I said quietly, my voice heavy with disappointment. Underscore, you just sat there. Underscore, she blinked up at me, her eyes wide and glistening with unshed tears. But she didn't offer an excuse. She didn't defend herself. All she had was silence. The door clicked shut behind Kaio, and the sound echoed in the now quiet apartment. It was over, at least a part with him, but the tension in the air didn't fade. If anything, it got heavier. The space that used to feel so comfortable, so familiar, now felt like a battlefield. Every corner charged with unspoken words. I stood by the door for a moment, trying to gather myself. My heart was still pounding, adrenaline coursing through me, but the anger that had fueled me seconds ago was already giving way to something darker, something colder. I didn't want to feel it, but there it was, disappointment, the kind that settles deep into your bones, that leaves you hollow. I turned to face Lily. She was still on the couch, her eyes fixed on the floor, her hands nervously twisting the hem of her sweater. The soft glow of the lamp cast long shadows around her, but there was nothing warm about it anymore. She looked up at me, her lips parted, like she wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. Underscore why? Underscore the word came out harsher than I intended, but I didn't care. I needed an answer. Underscore, why didn't you tell me it was him? Why didn't you say anything? Underscore, she flinched, like my words had physically struck her, but she didn't answer right away. The silence stretched between us, thick and suffocating. Underscore, I didn't think it was a big deal. Underscore, she finally said, her voice small, almost fragile. Underscore, we were just talking. I didn't think you'd react like this. Underscore, my blood boiled at her response. Underscore, not a big deal. Underscore, was she serious? My mind raced, trying to make sense of her reasoning, but it only made me angrier. Underscore, not a big deal. Underscore, I repeated, my voice rising. Underscore, you spent the whole day with your ex, alone in my apartment, and you didn't think it was a big deal? You didn't think it was something I deserved to know about. Underscore, her eyes filled with tears, but I wasn't ready to feel sympathy. I needed her to understand what she had done, how deeply this had cut. Underscore, I didn't mean to hide it from you. Underscore, she said, her voice shaking now. Underscore, I didn't want to upset you for no reason. Nothing happened, I swear. It wasn't like that. Underscore, but that wasn't the point. It wasn't about what had or hadn't happened between them. It was about trust, about respect. She had made a choice, and that choice had been to keep me in the dark. Underscore, it's not about what did or didn't happen, Lily. Underscore, I said, trying to keep my voice steady, even though I felt anything but. Underscore, it's about the fact that you didn't think I deserved to know. That you didn't think about how this would make me feel. You invited him into our space. Underscore, my underscore space. And you didn't even give me the courtesy of a heads up. Underscore, she wiped at her eyes, the tears starting to fall now. I could see the regret there, the realization of what she had done. But part of me wondered if she really understood, or if she was just reacting to my anger. Underscore, I'm sorry. Underscore, she whispered, her voice breaking. Underscore, I didn't think it through. I didn't mean to hurt you. Underscore, but that wasn't enough. Not anymore. The apology felt hollow, like it was coming too late. The damage was done, and no matter how much she apologized now, it couldn't change the fact that I'd had to find out about this in the worst possible way. Underscore, if it were me. Underscore, I said quietly, my voice barely above a whisper. Underscore, if I had done this to you, invited an ex over, spent hours alone with her without telling you, how would you feel? Would you be okay with that? Underscore, she didn't answer. She didn't need to. We both knew the truth. Her silence was louder than any word she could have said. I took a deep breath, trying to find some kind of calm, but it wasn't working. My mind was racing, replaying the events of the night. The way Kaio had looked at me, the way Lily had kept quiet, the way everything had felt wrong the moment I walked through the door. Underscore, I don't understand why you didn't tell me. Underscore, I said, my voice cracking slightly. Underscore, we're supposed to trust each other. We're supposed to have each other's backs. But tonight, it felt like I was completely alone. Underscore, her tears were flowing freely now, and she reached out to me, her hand trembling. Underscore, I'm so sorry. Underscore, she said again, pleading. Underscore, I didn't mean to make you feel like that. I swear, nothing happened. I didn't know it would upset you this much. Underscore, but that was the problem, wasn't it? She didn't know. She didn't think. And now, everything felt broken. I pulled away from her outstretched hand, the space between us growing wider by the second. The door clicked shut behind Lily, leaving me alone in the dimly lit apartment. The silence that followed was deafening, heavy with the weight of everything that had just happened. I sank onto the couch, my body feeling heavy, drained from the emotional whirlwind of the night. My mind raced, thoughts tumbling over each other, trying to make sense of it all. But there was no clarity, only confusion and hurt. How had things spiraled so fast? 1 minute, I was out with Mike, thinking about nothing more than a simple dinner and a quiet night. The next, my world felt like it had shifted, like something fundamental between Lily and me had cracked. I tried to replay the events in my head, her message, the sight of those damn boots, Kaio's arrogant smirk, the way she had just stayed quiet. The trust one thought we had, it wasn't there anymore. At least, it didn't feel like it. And without trust, what did we have? I leaned back into the cushions, staring at the ceiling, the weight of the situation pressing down on me like a physical burden. Every time I thought I had a handle on my emotions, they slipped away, leaving me even more lost. Anger, hurt, disappointment. They all swirled together, pulling me under. Instinctively, I reached for my phone. I needed to talk to someone. I couldn't sit here with these thoughts tearing me apart. I scrolled through my contacts, my finger hovering over a name I hadn't called in a while. Underscore Siri, call Dad. Underscore. The phone rang, the sound echoing in the quiet room, and for a moment, I wasn't sure I wanted him to pick up. What was I going to say? How was I going to explain this mess? But when his voice came through the line, warm and familiar, it was like a lifeline. Underscore, hey, son, how's everything going? Underscore, I hesitated, my throat tightening. How was everything going? It felt like my world was crumbling, but I didn't even know where to start. Underscore, I had a fight with Lily. Underscore, I said, my voice thick with the emotion I was trying to hold back. Underscore, a big one. Underscore, there was a pause on the other end of the line. I could almost picture my dad sitting back, waiting for me to continue, giving me the space to find the words. Underscore, what happened? Underscore, he asked gently, his tone encouraging but not pushy. And so, I told him everything. The gym, the message, the moment I walked in and saw Kaio sitting there, the tension that had hung between them like a dark cloud. I told him about how Lily hadn't said anything, how she had let Kaio speak for her, and how I had felt like an intruder in my own home. By the time I finished, I was out of breath, my chest tight with the raw emotion of it all. Dad listened quietly, not interrupting once. That was his way, letting me get it all out before offering his take. When I finally fell silent, there was another pause, and I could almost hear him thinking, carefully choosing his words. Underscore, that's rough, son. Underscore, he said finally, his voice thoughtful. Underscore, it sounds like you feel like Lily wasn't honest with you, and that's understandable. Trust is a big deal. Once it's shaken, it's hard to know how to rebuild it. Underscore, I swallowed hard, his words hitting closer to the truth than I was ready to admit. Underscore, yeah. Underscore, I muttered. Underscore, I don't get it. Why wouldn't she tell me? Why would she hide it? Underscore, it's hard to say. Underscore, he replied, his voice calm, steady. Underscore, sometimes people don't think things through. Maybe she didn't realize how much it would hurt you, or maybe she was afraid of your reaction. But that doesn't excuse the fact that she didn't tell you the truth. And that's the part that's going to be hard for you to get past. Underscore, I nodded, even though he couldn't see me, feeling the weight of his words settle deep in my chest. He was right. It wasn't just about Kaio being here. It was about Lily not thinking I deserved to know. The secrecy, the omission, it was what hurt the most. Underscore, the thing is, underscore, Dad continued. Underscore, you've got to ask yourself if this is something you can forgive. If you can talk to her and get to a place where trust can be rebuilt. Relationships are hard, son. They take work. But if you're already feeling like you're on your own, like she's not on your side, that's something you need to pay attention to. Underscore, I felt a lump rise in my throat. The idea of not being with Lily, of everything we had built together falling apart, was too painful to think about. But at the same time, I couldn't ignore the gnawing feeling in my gut, the sense that something had shifted, that things might never be the same. Underscore, I don't know if I can get past this. Underscore, I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. Underscore, I love her, but I don't know if I can trust her the same way again. Underscore, there was a long silence on the other end, and then my dad spoke, his voice soft but firm. Underscore, then you've got a tough decision to make. But whatever you decide, remember this. You deserve to be with someone who values your trust, someone who's honest with you. Don't settle for anything less than that. Underscore, his words hit me like a wave, and I closed my eyes, letting them sink in. He was right. I couldn't settle for less than what I deserved. Not in this. Not with her. After the call with my dad, the apartment felt eerily quiet. The silence was heavy, almost suffocating, like the walls themselves were closing in on me. The words my dad had said kept replaying in my mind. Underscore, you deserve to be with someone who values your trust. Underscore, they lingered there, mixing with the memories of the night. The sight of Kaio sitting so casually in my living room, the way Lily's silence had pierced deeper than any word she could have said. I sat back on the couch, staring blankly at the ceiling, trying to make sense of the mess my thoughts had become. Everything felt muddled. I wanted to be angry, to hold on to the burning resentment, but something else was creeping in now. Something colder, a sense of detachment, maybe even indifference. The exhaustion of it all was starting to wear me down. How had things come to this? My phone buzzed on the coffee table, vibrating insistently against the wood. I didn't even have to look to know who it was. Lily had been messaging me nonstop since she left, her words flooding my screen, each new notification like a pinprick in my already raw emotions. I finally picked up the phone, my thumb hovering over the unread messages. The last one lit up the screen. "Please, can we talk? I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. The earlier messages had all been variations of the same theme. Apologies, explanations. Please for me to understand. She said it hadn't been a big deal. She said she never meant to hurt me. She said she loved me and wanted to fix things. But none of it felt like it mattered anymore. I read the words, but they didn't reach me. They felt distant, hollow, like they were coming from someone I no longer recognized. Another message popped up. "I love you. Please don't let this end us. I stared at the screen, feeling nothing. The words "I love you" used to mean everything coming from her. They used to fill me with warmth, with security, with a certainty that we were solid, unbreakable. But now, all I felt was numb. It was like something inside me had shut off, like a switch had been flipped, and I couldn't bring myself to care the way I used to. The truth was, her apologies didn't fix what was broken. They didn't erase the fact that she had made a choice to keep me in the dark, to invite her ex into our space without even thinking about how it would affect me. And now, she was scrambling to undo it all with words that felt too late, too empty. I set the phone back down without replying. What was the point? I wasn't ready to talk, and I wasn't sure if I ever would be. The space between us felt too wide, too vast a bridge with a few apologies and promises. The night dragged on, the hours slipping by in a blur. I tried distracting myself. Turned on the TV, flipped through channels, but nothing could hold my attention. All I could think about was the look on Lily's face when she'd left, the tears streaming down her cheeks, the way her voice had cracked when she said she was sorry. A part of me wanted to care, wanted to reach out and comfort her, but a larger part of me was just done. I didn't hate her. That's what surprised me the most. I wasn't consumed by rage or bitterness anymore. I was just tired of the lies, the secrets, the effort it took to hold everything together. And maybe that's what scared me the most. How easy it was becoming to imagine a life without her. My phone buzzed again, and this time, I didn't even bother to look. The messages would still be there tomorrow, and maybe then I'd have the energy to deal with them. But tonight, I couldn't. Not anymore. I closed my eyes, letting the stillness of the apartment wrap around me like a heavy blanket. For the first time in a long while, I didn't feel like fighting. The next day came sluggishly, each hour dragging its weight behind it. I hadn't slept much, my thoughts too tangled in everything that had happened. By morning, the emotional exhaustion had settled deep into my bones. The texts from Lily kept coming, each one a new plea, a new apology, but I still hadn't responded. I couldn't. Not yet. By mid-afternoon, my phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't a message, it was her. She was calling. For a moment, I stared at the screen, the familiar name lighting up my phone, and something inside me twisted. 2 years. 2 years of shared memories, of laughter, of late-night talks, of love. It wasn't something you could just walk away from easily. But things were different now. I was different now. I let the call go to voicemail, but a few minutes later, there was a knock at the door. I knew it was her. I knew from the way the soft knocks echoed through the apartment, tentative and full of hesitation. I took a deep breath, running a hand through my hair, trying to steady myself. This conversation was inevitable, but that didn't make it any easier. I stood up, my legs feeling heavier than usual, and opened the door. Lily stood there, her eyes red and puffy, her hands nervously twisting the strap of her purse. She looked small, vulnerable, like she'd been carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders. The sight of her like that used to make me want to protect her, to pull her close and tell her everything would be all right. But now, I just felt empty. Underscore, can we talk? Underscore, she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I nodded, stepping aside to let her in. She walked past me into the apartment, and it was like she hadn't even left. Her presence was still everywhere. Her scent on the pillows, her things scattered around the living room. This place had been ours, a shared space where we built our lives together. But now, it felt like she was just a visitor. We stood there for a moment in awkward silence, the tension between us thick and suffocating. She fidgeted, her eyes darting around the room as if she was searching for the right words, but none of them came. Finally, I spoke, breaking the silence that had become too heavy to bear. Underscore, Lily, I can't do this anymore. Underscore, her head snapped up, her eyes wide with shock. Underscore, what do you mean? Underscore, she asked, her voice trembling. I swallowed hard, the words sticking in my throat. Underscore, I mean this, us. I can't keep pretending like everything's okay when it's not. What happened, it changed things. Underscore, tears welled up in her eyes again, and she took a shaky step toward me, her hand reaching out like she wanted to touch me, to close the distance that had grown between us. Underscore, please. Underscore, she whispered, her voice cracking. Underscore, I'm so sorry. I know I messed up. I'll do anything to make it right. Just don't end this. Don't walk away. Underscore, I looked down at her hand, hovering in the air between us, and I wanted to feel something. I wanted to feel the pull of our past, the memories we'd shared, the love that had once been so strong. But all I felt was the cold reality of what had happened. The trust we had was broken, and no matter how much I wanted to believe otherwise, I couldn't ignore that. Underscore, it's not just about what happened with Kaio. Underscore, I said quietly, stepping back, putting more distance between us. Underscore, it's about what it means. The trust isn't there anymore. You kept something from me, something important, and I can't get past that. Underscore, her face crumpled, the tears spilling over as she shook her head. Underscore, but I love you. Doesn't that count for something? I didn't mean to hurt you. I didn't think it would matter. I didn't realize how much it would affect you. Underscore, I sighed, running a hand through my hair again, frustrated by how she still didn't understand. Underscore, it's not about love, Lily. It's about trust. And once that's broken, love can't fix it. I can't keep wondering if there's something else you're not telling me. I can't keep questioning where we stand. Underscore, her sobs grew louder, and she reached out again, desperate now. Underscore, please don't do this. I'll never talk to him again, I swear. I'll make it right. We can fix this. We can fix us. Underscore, but I shook my head, stepping further away, retreating from her desperation. Underscore, no, Lily. We can't. It's over. Underscore. The words came out like a final breath, a release of everything I'd been holding in. And as they hung in the air, I felt a strange sense of relief, as if the weight I'd been carrying for the past 24 hours had finally been lifted. Lily collapsed onto the couch, her body trembling with sobs. I stood there for a moment, watching her, feeling the remnants of what we had slipping away. Part of me wanted to comfort her, to tell her that everything would be okay, but I knew it wouldn't. Not for us. Not anymore. Underscore, I'm sorry. Underscore, I said softly, though the words felt hollow, meaningless. Underscore, but this is what's best for both of us. Underscore, she didn't respond. She just cried, her hands clutching the fabric of the couch as if she was trying to hold on to something that was already gone. I turned away, walking toward the door, my heart heavy but resolute. I knew this was the right choice. Even though it hurt, even though it felt like I was leaving behind a part of myself, I knew there was no going back. Some things, once broken, couldn't be fixed. As I closed the door behind me, the finality of it settled in. And for the first time since this whole thing began, I felt a strange sense of peace. I was free. Free from the doubts, from the mistrust, from the weight of trying to hold together something that had already fallen apart. And in that moment, I knew it was time to move on.
Keep watching our stories by clicking on one of the videos that appear on the screen, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to be alerted about new videos. See you next time.